strapline care of Boris Johnson. Didn't realise I'd be passing by the headquarters, if you might call it that, for the Department of Education. Sorry about the railings. All very quiet at the Department of Education, so I presume there's not much educationalising going on. And it's opposite St Mary's Pro Cathedral, which again features in many of the detective and gangster funerals and things. And I'm not too sure why it's called a Pro Cathedral, because it's nothing to do with the current fixation of calling completely amateur stuff like phones and toothbrushes pro when there's nothing pro about them. Heading away from the very modern Harcourt Road area, which if you put a blindfold on me and drop me there, I wouldn't have a clue where I was. This is Adelaide Road, and some of the more traditional Victoria come Georgian or whatever houses. A little bit of normal architecture with some nice modern banging on in the background as they build goodness knows what. Let's go up and have a look and be a nosy. Oh, they're doing a bit of pile driving, which, if anybody has that sort of problem, I do apologise if it brings back bad memories. They don't say anything about riding sideways. I may get a chance to amble nearby, but I've just detected the original National Concert Hall. I think Earlsford Terrace, is it? The Royal Victoria Eye and Ear Hospital used to be just called Adelaide Road Hospital. Nice old building. Still very much in its original form. Squeezed into all this modernity, and a remnant from the past is the former Adelaide Road Synagogue, now miles and miles away from the remaining Jewish community in Dublin. This is Leeson Street that heads off down to St Stephen's Green, and Fitzwilliam Place heads on down to, trusting my memory, to Merrion Street, and they're noted as being two very fine sweeps of Georgian buildings still in their original state. Imposing, if somewhat ivy-covered, Fitzwilliam Hall. And now we're crossing over the sedate Grand Canal, or as they call it in Irish, the Grand Canal. Sorry, that was unnecessary and uncalled for. Oh, if I'd known I was coming down here, I would have brought a copy of my spare book by Prince Harry. No, never mind. So does this mean if I've only got a brand new one, I can't use it because it's not been worn? It's lovely to see the cherry trees and the non-cherry trees in full spring bloom. The offices of the Department for Glass. No, I made that up. Do architects actually get paid for producing that? Just spied an embassy as I walk along on Sussex Place here. I think that's the Luxembourg Embassy. EEC. Oh, if you're in the mood for barging around, have a nice lunch and dinner cruise. And very fine looking barges they are too. They're the sort of things, if you had a reasonable lottery win, assuming of course that you do the lottery, you could convert one of these into an absolutely luxurious floating home. Oh, I wouldn't mind that at all. And coming up, approaching Bagot Street now shortly. I think someone needs to explain to Mr. and Mrs. Seagull here that this is duck territory. What word about canal and not sea do you not understand, you seagully types? We'll have no cheap jokes about suburban town names, please, from people who aren't familiar with such names. The Royal City of Dublin Hospital used to be called Baggot Street Hospital, but looking at it, I don't think it's hospitalising anymore. Yes, Baggot Street Hospital, the shadow of its former self. Again, nice to see general architecture is left in its original form, despite the usage of the shops underneath changing with the wind. Although more than can be said for this particular side of the street. Popped in to meet a few pals in the Waterloo pub in Baggot Street, which is in Dublin 4, and is quite impressive, to be honest. We're here, of course, being the vast vestments of activity post lunchtime, and there's all the very famous faces from Ireland and Dublin past. I see Seamus Heaney, I believe. Can't get too close, but some of the old famous faces from the past. And nice bar. Lovely lunch, and there's me mates, me lads, all there, sitting around having a chat, all from school 50 years ago, every last one of them, and we're all looking fine. Knowing they're not common in Ireland, I was excited to find my first blue plate. And we've just walked past the embassy of Lesotho. This is the unfortunately named Herbert Place. Hey, you Herbert. But just to demonstrate that row upon rows of these Georgian houses still undisturbed. I came down here to where Herbert Place meets a place called Mount Street Upper, I think it is, yes. And it's because St. Stephen's Church here features quite regularly in any movie car chases around Dublin, because it's right round the church, and it's rather interesting bell structure here. And if we swing round onto Mount Street Upper, no jokes about the name please, not that type of a place, you can see it's just a very long vista of Georgian houses, still as they were originally, although perhaps not that many might be actual living accommodation in terms of being townhouses. Typical street with embassies. This one is the Republic of Slovenia. And then the Embassy of Barbados. And the Embassy of Moldova. Flag flying nicely. The Embassy of France. Flag not flying too enthusiastically. And the Embassy of the Republic of Hyundai. Sorry, Sansui. I mean, Kia. I'll stop joking around. Korea. It's not a bad indictment for the council to have ensured that these lovely stretches of Georgian houses, often 3 stories and a basement, have been allowed to, or should I say, have been instructed to stay in the original form that they were built in. So it means that Dublin has a very high proportion in the city centre of these wonderful Georgian houses. And then another lovely square called Merrion Square. This is in the heart of Embassy Land. That's a rather final non-blue blue plate, if I might say so. And I've discovered the plate of the most famous alumnus, or is it alumni? I don't know if alumni from my old school of 45 years ago. William Butler Yeats, or W.B. Yeats, as everybody knows him as. Buried in Drumcliff, County Sligo, under the Ben Bulben Table Mountain. As you can see from the sign, we're sort of in the middle of the, I suppose, artistic and nature area with museums, and just over the road we've got the sweep of the wonderful National Museum of Ireland, featuring a fabulous building which we'll just move up and have a closer inspection of. I mean, just look at this, you have to be impressed. Wonderful, wonderful building. As I fall off the path because I can't see where I'm going and look at the screen at the same time. Lovely detail on the top of the roof. And here we've arrived at the department of the Taoiseach, which in essence is the 10 Downing Street of Ireland. And there we are, the official nice polished plate. And next door to the department for the Taoiseach is the Department of Finance. So he just has to nip next door on his bike and say, look lads, I need a bit of more money to stick some more buses in, and we've got the Department of Public Expenditure, NPD Delivery and Reform, whatever on earth all that means. Bagot Street Lower. I'm not going to bore you by just going down and having a look at some more pubs, but there is one particular pub I do need to bring your attention to here as we walk towards St. Stephen's Green. Is a very famous watering hole, and that is O'Donoghue's. A couple of nights in there with people from the Pogues and from Thin Lizzy, and just really having a bit of fun after a hard day's journalising. Oh, and poor old Napa Tandy's has fallen by the wayside. You have a great meal in there. And so we leave Merrion Row and come straight out onto St. Stephen's Green, which is a very large area. Duck ponds, flower gardens, the lot. And, oh come on, let's go and have a quick look. Before we head into the St. Stephen's Green Park, just to show you the famous Shelbourne Hotel. Famous because that's where the Constitution for the Republic was signed in 1922. And incidentally, at the very top, a lady called, I think it's Elizabeth Dunn of Dunn Stores. She lived out the last 15 or so years of her life in the penthouse. Guarding the entrance to St. Stephen's Green, opposite the Shelbourne Hotel, is Wolf Tone. Let's, without any further ado, just nip into the green and have a look. And on the reverse side to Wolf Tone are some more sculpturizations. Not my cup of tea or lump of metal, I have to admit. This is all very nice and serene. And there's the, I've always called it the duck pond. And, oh, we've got a couple of swans approaching. Do they remember me from decades ago? Feeding them swan food. And a bandstand. I should put U2 in there because that's a band I can't stand. There's someone waiting expectingly for some food. Will he get any? I don't think he will. No. And you can see the gardens over there. Well, the garden area with some flowers peeping over. I'm not going to dash over there just to show you some flowers. And the bridge over the river Kwai? No, bridge over the river, whatever it is. You have to remember now, this park, delightfully, is 2 minutes walk from the £320 Monopoly Green Grafton Street, which is one of the busiest shopping streets in Dublin. And before we cross over the road, this is the Shelbourne Hotel. In fact, the traffic lights are with me, so I'm going to cross over now. But we had to show you the head office of a very major international trading corporation, Temu. Yes, aren't these offices wonderful? That's Temu for you. billions and billions of dollars they make, and that's the offices for their European headquarters. Now, I have an ulterior motive for coming down beside the Shelburne Hotel, and it'll be revealed if we walk just a little bit further down here. As we leave the Shelburne behind us, it's not to see this fantastic building, which is the Department for Agriculture, but just bear with me. And no, it's not to have a look at the statue of William Coynham, and neither is it to have a look at the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment. And neither are we visiting the National Museum of Ireland. But please, do bear with me. It's going to be worth the excitement, I guarantee it. Yes, while this is in fact the National Museum of Ireland, apologies for the gate, but nothing I can do. On the other side of this railing, we have something called Leinster House. And I do find it very amusing that sponsored by Bailey's. That is quite amusing, because the irony won't be lost on you by the fact that this building next door, please brace yourselves. This is Dáil Éireann, the Irish Parliament. I told you it was worth bracing yourselves. And beside it is the National Library. So it seems the politicians aren't necessarily afraid to mix in between books, agriculture and employment and all the rest. Less than a stone's throw from Leinster House, the Dáil Irish Parliament is very conveniently TDWH, Teachtra Dáil, which is the Irish for Member of Parliament, Teachtra Dáil Watering House, Buswell's Hotel. So as we leave Leinster House, the Dáil behind us, we wander down Molesworth Street. A couple of new buildings put up in the meantime, and head towards Dawson Street. The skin clinic seems to have moved. You could say they've essentially regrafted to somewhere else. I'm probably being incredibly judgmental when I say this, but seeing where it's located, I can imagine the diners are in here talking absolute garbage to one another. Sorry, I shouldn't really say that, should I? But you just got to look at them, really. I know, very judgmental. And I've done it myself at times. You can see that my judgmentalizing might not be too misplaced, because next door to What's It by Nico is the Ivy. So, yes, maybe I'm right on this occasion. Ah, Marco Pierre White. Wasn't aware that the lad from the council estate in Leeds 17 had a restaurant here. Yes, that's where he's brought up. Good luck to him. Very nice fellow, as it happens. And the Royal Hibernian Way, named after the rather majestic hotel it replaced. Let's go and have a nosy. Right, as we walk into the arcade, this used to be the foyer of the Royal Hibernian Hotel, where my claim to fame as a young journalist was interviewing Dame Joanna Lumley before she became a dame, as well as the former Mrs. Alvin Stardust, Lisa Goddard, who was here promoting, of all things, heated hostess trolleys. What people only did to sell their product. Although in fairness, because of the little gift the heated trolley people gave me, I had a lovely heated trolley to take home to my lovely mum, who got many years of wonderful use from it. This cut through now takes us all the way through to Grafton Street. I presume they mean they're recruiting actual experts worldwide, because, well, recruitment consultants, you've only got to read my book on HR to know what I think about them. They do fulfill a purpose, but, well, let's not say anything more about that. And lo and behold, Victoria can't keep a secret because we're back out on Grafton Street and it's full circle. Bewley's Cafe. I missed these plates the other day. You know me and my blue plates, particularly here that aren't blue plates. And I love the way it says here, Bewley's, a heritage building open to the public. Admission is free. I don't even think Bewley's could have the nerve to charge people to come in and then to buy a cup of coffee. Pardon the whistling alarm, it's not me trying to break in or break out, but I thought it was worthwhile just having a look at some of the original buildings that are opposite Trinity College and the corner of Dame Street. And here we have the very impressive Bank of Ireland head office, or headquarters, and that's right opposite the Trinity College entrance. Many years ago, this very impressive building, as I say, the Bank of Ireland, was originally, gosh, we're getting buses and trams going in all directions, was originally the Dáil, and that is the Irish Parliament until it moved to Leinster House.